The only thing you can do to avoid fear is take action. And we need to do this consistently. This isn't just like, okay, I did it this one time and I figured it out. We need to constantly be pushing outside of our comfort zone. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Work-Life Mindset Podcast. This is Chris, and I'm really excited to have you join us today so we can dive into this topic of how fear holds us back. Okay, specifically, how fears keep us from taking action, right? Because here's this really cool truth. Humans are only born with two fears, okay? All other fears are learned. You can Google this. If you're sensitive, maybe don't, but there are all kinds of freaky, unethical experiments that were done on infants in the 50s and early 60s that showed us, humans are born again with only two fears, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. And this is important because every other fear that we have was learned, right? We learned how to fear judgment. We learned how to fear failure. We learned how to fear spiders and fear scary movies, whatever it is. We learned that behavior, which means we can unlearn it. Okay. And part of this awareness and part of what I invite everybody to do here is to kind of get curious about, where did you learn your fears? And ask, is that really your fear or is it somebody else's fear? This is very much in alignment with your beliefs. Whether or not you actually learned your own belief or did you just adopt somebody else's belief. When I was a kid and I had older sibling and they'd go watch some really scary movies at friend's house and come back and just explain to me in like gory detail, and I would just get so worked up and afraid of these specific movies. What I'm thinking about, Texas Chainsaw Massacre comes to me, right? And I was just like forming images in my head as my sister's telling me all these, scary scenes and such. And, from there, I just became deathly afraid of barns, especially barns with tools in them, because I'd seen some clips and I just kind of adopted that fear based on, somebody else's fear. So that wasn't even my own fear, but I went through a lot of my life afraid of that just because I adopted it, right? Now, those fears of like, spiders and those scaries, they're not necessarily what's going to hold us back from taking action. What holds us back from taking action are these pretty common intellectual fears, right? The five most common that I see are fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of success, and fear of judgment, which is also abandonment, and this concept of the imposter syndrome, right? This is how I've held myself back. This is how a lot of the people I get to work with hold themselves back. This is where I start with when we're trying to find out why somebody is not taking action. And chances are it's not just one, it's probably a couple of these common fears, right? So a challenge is to kind of ask yourself, what is the biggest fear that's holding you back from, taking whatever action it is? And like, where did you learn it? Let's say you want to be exercising, you want to get out to the gym, you even bought the membership, but you're not going. Well, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid of what people are going to say? Are you afraid that you're just going to start and end it? Is it rejection? Is it judgment? What is it? We got to name it to tame it and just bring awareness for why that's holding us back and what we need to do to take action. And it all starts with this kind of awareness piece, right? And once you get aware of that, challenge yourself to answer why you're ready to release that fear and take action to that future desire. So instead of just focusing on what's scary, focus on the why, focus on what you're going for, right? Try to understand like why you have these fears and what it's keeping you back from. We already dove into a little bit this concept of primal fears and intellectual fears. And if you didn't catch that episode, quick review is primal fears have physical pain or death attached. This is running across the busy highway, jumping off the cliff, the saber-toothed tiger that forever was out there trying to get us. Those are the primal fears. The intellectual fears are these things we actually create when we're safe because we have nothing else to do. Okay. These are the, what is Susie in accounting going to think of this outfit I'm wearing? Okay. These are the fears of judgment, the fears of rejection, the fears of failure, the imposter syndrome, fear of abandonment, sometimes even fear of success, right? These are all intellectual fears. And what's crazy is the brain can't tell the difference of these two fears. So it's treating this fear of judgment as if it might kill you. And it does that by holding you back from taking these actions. A lot of this is done in the subconscious. So just even getting aware and being able to call out what fear you're facing is going to have a huge impact on your ability to take action. Because, fear is really just this anxious feeling caused by our anticipation of some imagined event or experience, right? Anticipation is a key word because it means it hasn't happened yet. It's in the future. And imagined, again, like it hasn't happened. It's just out there in the future. So we're holding ourselves back for things that don't exist, at least don't exist yet. And that's pretty crazy because we're not taking action toward becoming our great self, toward taking, bold steps to be who we want to be, because we're projecting or guessing what might happen in the future, right? All this fear arises just from an image in the brain of some future pain. And again, it's all in the future. So one way to look at this is just that fear is not real. Okay. Most of these fears are intellectual. We're making them up. We're spinning the stories in our head and they're not real. No, I'm not saying like those outcomes are not real and not possible, but they haven't happened yet. So why are we stressing about them? Right. And they're not going to kill us even if they do happen. Generally, we're just going to learn from them and be able to move on. But again, we want to make space to realize that these fears aren't real and they're just going to hold us back. Um, we avoid kind of taking action out of fear to avoid some pain, right? So another way to look at this fear in the future is to recognize that, we're avoiding some kind of pain, some kind of outcome that we anticipate may or may not happen. But the tricky part is if we don't take action, that future pain is inevitable. It's going to come to us. So it's almost like by listening to the fears and not taking action, we have a tendency to manifest what that fear is and that future event, that future pain that we're worried about. So, the only way to avoid pain is to be taking action, to get out there and do it and learn from it and show yourself that it's not that bad. We need to take action so, those scary things don't really happen. The only thing worse than the pain of hard work is the pain of regret. Okay. And I get it. Like this fear holds us back. It's difficult. It's really challenging. It totally is. But so is living a life without taking action and not being aligned with who you want to come, right? The only thing you can do to avoid fear is take action. And we need to do this consistently. This isn't just like, okay, I did it this one time and I figured it out. We need to constantly be pushing outside of our comfort zone because everything we want is outside of our comfort zone. All the growth and development and anything that we want that we don't have is outside of this comfort zone. If it were in our comfort zone, we'd have it. And this is hard. Of course it's hard. If it were easy, everybody would do it, but not everybody does this. This is why most people stay stuck. So the key is to try to find a way to get yourself to the edge of that comfort zone, to feel the fear and lean into it. Feel that fear and do it anyways. Get excited that when you feel the fear, and I mean like sensations. For me, it's a knot in my stomach. I know damn well what fear feels like for me because I've done the work and I've allowed it to not just be in my conscious, but those times it's in my subconscious, I can catch it by how it fears. I know some people feel that in your shoulders as a tenseness. Some people get it as a tenseness in their forehead. Everybody's a little different. But just either now think back to a time you're fear, or the next time you're really scared, get that sensation of how that's showing up. Is there some heat in your body? Is there a part of your body that's expanding or maybe even contracting? Recognize what that feels like because this is your ticket to success. Okay. Is feeling that fear and then consciously moving forward with it. Because this whole fear cycle, the amygdala, it works in the subconscious. You're not even aware, maybe, that you are afraid of judgment or that you are afraid of success. It just happens as a snap thing in your subconscious, and your brain tells your body to not do something, right? Because it thinks it's keeping you alive. Like, don't step out into that traffic lane. But what if it's telling you to not release that draft of that book you want to write, to not post that blog, to not wear that outfit that's going to make you feel good, to not go to the gym because you're worried of what people might say or think? And you can't control any of that. So why let that hold you back? Why kind of let that be the reason that, you're not getting to where you want to go? So, another way to kind of journal through some of this and recognize this and name it to tame it is to ask yourself, like, what pain are you avoiding that's in the future and not real, right? There's some pain attached to this. So what is it? And see if you can't tie it back to one of those five fears: that fear of failure, that fear of judgment or abandonment, that fear of rejection, the imposter syndrome, and sometimes even the fear of success, right? These are all our brain's way to think it's keeping us safe, but really it's keeping us inside our comfort zone. And we need to get out of that and expand. Okay. Growth comes from novelty and courageous acts. Growth is really just doing new and exciting things. What are those new and exciting things you want to do? You've seen them, but you're not taking action on them. Well, just identify what that fear is, right? What are you really fearing? Are you not putting yourself out there because you're really afraid of what somebody in some other part of the world might say or think? Are you going to let that sabotage you? Like, what's the potential outcomes if you actually did lean into that? So sometimes we just need to adopt a stronger fear, right? This is really key. And I get to work with a lot of entrepreneurs and coach them how to do this. You know, becoming an entrepreneur and starting your own business brings up all these insecurities. Same with people that are just on like a health journey and an exercise. It really forces you to bring to light all these fears and all these insecurities. And you can have that fear of what people are going to say or what people might think. And if you make space to hold that up against the fear of actually not growing into a stronger version of yourself, not losing that weight, not getting healthy, which could mean dying young, could mean not being able to play with your grandkids, could mean just being on your deathbed with full of regrets, having not lived your life to your true values, but to what you thought society or those that might judge you thought. That's a stronger fear to me. Or in business, the fear of your business just not taking off. Are you more afraid of what somebody might say of the product you put out there, the price point you put out there, versus the business just not happening at all? So these fears aren't necessarily going to go away. We can turn the volume down on them, or we can adopt stronger fears, right? That's how we can use fear to propel us forward. We can bring out the old carrot and stick, right? And let's get some push motivation here. And like, yeah, I'm kind of afraid of this, but holy crap, if I actually don't take action and listen to that fear, that's going to manifest this. And this is a way stronger fear. So let's just bring that into the awareness and keep it going. So that's what I have for you today. That's how fear holds us back. If you really like this stuff, feel free to follow us at Work Life Mindset on Instagram. Also put a lot of value in the Facebook group, Work Life Mindset. I have a lot of tools, including a brand new time management course that we just put out on worklifemindset.com. Check it out. I go even deeper into some of these fears and tips and tools and exercises in there to help you take action to living the dream life that you want to live, to bringing structure and intention into your day, to craft healthy habits, to understand what these fears are and how they're holding you back. All that is there for you on the website, worklifemindset.com. Have a beautiful day, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.